Hey ho, welcome back again to the second part. So, after taking a short break, I think about in the next hour or so, I want to explore more into visual exploration of what we can actually do by moving stuff around. So the first part was more about animating things, and now I believe it's a good idea to go for diversity and build a bunch of test scenes to see what we can come up with. So these are the assets we created so far. And I think I want to go back to the particles branch here. We stationary apply, and we still have our local changes, and it's kind of awkward to put it into the particle branch, but I think if we branch from here, I think it should be okay. So let's create a branch here, and let's call this branch feed Maki. Create and check out, and then we create like a Maki first intro animation. Okay, I think it's always good to just make a lot of commits with Git. So yes, a lot of people say, oh, Git, it's like so horrible and so cumbersome. But I think with a tool like Fork, it's actually manageable. So let's jump right in. We start again in debug mode. Music playing in the background. And I think we can pause this now. Okay, starting. Building and debug really takes a long time. So let's get back to the home screen, and I think there's our Katsumaki demo here. And I think we can leave this as it is and just create like a bunch of like tests. One thing I want to try, for instance, is so if we have let's say if we have a cylinder, let's make it a cylinder mesh or something, and then we take the vertices, 2 points, mesh vertices 2 points, and then we draw mesh at points, and let's say we draw a bunch of cubes, and then we camera, and let's see how this looks. Okay, so obviously the cubes are too big, and so wait, we wanted to think about skyscrapers and stuff, which means this thing should actually be big. Let's make it like 30 meters high. Make it 40 meters. Not a big skyscraper, but it's a proper building, like 10 floors or something. And actually we want to so let's turn on the grid again. So what do we have here? Oh, we should move the camera. So okay, looks like our this is kind of weird. Why is the camera not? Because the camera is. No, wait a second. This is kind of awkward. I think we should see the grid here even with the camera set, because output is pinned to this camera. I think this is. I have to explore this. It looks like a bug. So, but anyways, if we increase the cat is going crazy here. If we increase the size of these cubes, so eventually we see them, and maybe we want to have a much higher tessellation. So maybe we and obviously these are now too big. Okay, too small is also not so good. Okay, there we are. So now if we move this thing around. The cat is like crazy cat. Okay, okay, there's some kind of structure, and I think it could be even higher. Maybe like the radius is a little bit too big, like so. And I think we can also add maybe like a point light or something. And move this. Move this here. And once again, pin this guy here. Add a point light. Let's move this up. Okay, maybe not as far. Okay, then I think we also need to set the environment. Otherwise we will have like this flat shading here. And let's quickly build a high contrast. So let's take a blob and let's fill the background black. And let's set a fixed resolution. Let's make it, I don't know, it doesn't need to be high res. Let's make it, let's convert this to texture map and let's put this into the thing here. And now we can move this position. Oh, first we need to enable live editing here. So if we now move the position, we should be able to actually quickly tweak our scene here. And let's also add set a material. Maybe make it like more reflective. Okay. Maybe scale this down a little bit. And maybe make this wider. It's almost like a sun. A little bit of color here. Okay, and let's once again render this into render target and add some depth of field. And distance like 10 meters or something, and increase this a little bit. Okay. I think what I wanted to experiment with is so we now have this. So we have this point structure. So it's a little bit hard to see, but if we split this here and say we have a group, we take these original points, and instead of drawing meshes, we visualize these points. So visualize point into the group, and maybe let's disable the location for now. Okay, like this is like impossible to see. Depth of field doesn't make it much easier, so it's still impossible to see what's going on here. It looks a little bit crazy because let's look here. We are seeing all these points with all this information here. And I think we don't need the indices, so let's turn this off and let's increase the size of this axis. So and let's also increase the camera speed again. So if you move here, we see that we have all these points and the z-axis is facing outwards, and all like these positions we instantiate the cubes. I think what we can now try is to add to basically destroy this thing. And so like a simple way would be, okay, let's for instance randomize these points. So this would be if we pin this here, so we could basically do what we did earlier. So right now this is actually already some point space, which means that we observe any of these, we should notice that they are all these things are there, all the points are flying only into the z direction, because this is what is set up here. Yeah, and we see in fact that they're moving back and forth out of the wall. So maybe enable this again, and we disable the points here, and then go back to our previous animation. Now we have like this kind of scattered surface there, which already looks kind of interesting. So let's keep this animating so we see a little bit more. The randomized points, we earlier had this random phase, and I don't know if you still remember this discussion about like the bias of the randomized points. So I was thinking about this a bit, and I think we should change the default gain to something like so. I think it will look much better. Okay, so let's check out different camera perspectives. I think it's actually interesting, especially with the stuff in the background. I'm not really sure if I would prefer the background to get darker or brighter, but we can explore this a little bit by setting some fog here. The distance is way too. And what we can actually do is we can change the fog to, damn it, if it's too bright, so this doesn't help us much. What happens if I turn on the background here? Blur. Interesting. I would have expected this to be much brighter. I think I didn't. I have to quickly go in here and fix this, because this needs to be there and this needs to be there. Yeah, so there was a glitch with rendering the background of this. And what I really like is like having like this super hard contrast line with the white stuff in the background. I think this really has something. And I wonder if we would go here and like move this around, if we actually find like a nice spot where the background is doing something like this. So obviously this is way too big. And I think it might be like some kind of like maybe we can also, instead of a blob. Maybe you could find a different shape, or maybe you can just displace this somehow. So let's use displace to paste this in here and use a fractal noise. And then if we displace this, maybe we can find some more interesting shapes there. Okay, let's add some feather in here. And maybe this is a little bit too bright with the exposure here. Maybe we can also reduce the background blur there, so we see some more interesting shapes evolving. It's kind of interesting, now that I think about this, how with this even distribution we see this crack in the middle. I'm not really sure. I think this somehow has something. So what I'm doing right now is I'm looking for things that will provide some kind of interesting potential for transitions. So like the first thing is we can so obviously if you reduce the amount here, it will go back to maybe we can take this guy and put it to the background image here, so we see this a little bit better. So so obviously if we increase the size of this guy, then it will eventually turn into like a cylinder because of the high tessellation. Maybe we can also change the rows here to something that will close the gaps perfectly. And so now we can go from something simple to something complex. Of course, this looks a little bit too... I mean, I like that it has a little bit of shapes here, so that you can see, okay, this is not just flat shape, but there is some structure. But if we now like unveil and break this thing open, I think this can look really nice. Yeah, especially like this shape up there. I think this looks a little bit boring. So if we do this, we will need to move this guy around somewhere else. So that's like, yeah, I think like something more ominous. But we can, so we can go into like this thing later. Let's start with like breaking this thing up. So one thing this random points operator can do is to not only use this amount, but also use the, at least I think it should do this. Let's see if it can actually do this. Use the W parameter for controlling this amount. And the W parameter we can set with the select points operator. And so let's increase this guy here. And we see how this now, let's also turn on the gizmos here. So this is basically, okay, maybe like this is really dark. Let's, we can increase this roughness here a little bit, and maybe, where's this point light? This is here. Interesting that it doesn't do that much. Why is it like so little? Maybe it needs to be like a little bit diffuse as well. split again. Okay, so we see a little bit more. We can tweak the look later. And probably maybe you can do this right now. So it's a totally flat shaded. But I think if we add some kind of, let's take the Ryochi pattern here and turn this into normal map. Maybe don't use the screen resolution, but we use a fixed resolution. You know, like 1K or something. And maybe the without any opacity. And then we put this into the normal map. Okay, maybe we don't need to animate it. Score speed 0, 0. And so I don't know, like what is like a good combination here for some kind of find the padding a little bit and much less splits. Maybe you can increase the impact of these guys. And probably, actually you always started to see a little bit of structure there, so maybe we just go for a little bit less. So maybe something like so. It's interesting that it has like this and let's increase also the split probability. Okay. So now if we would, is there actually like some kind of, okay, simple radius has an effect. And yeah, probably good enough. So and we might also from the cube mesh transform mesh UV, maybe scale this up just like a little bit. Just think about like this. Now that we have like superhuman uniform distribution, I don't really know what to do about that. So maybe there needs to be some kind of random offset or so. Yeah, I have to think about this. And we also see that there's a, probably we need to think about some kind of mid-map level there. I wonder if this already generates mid-maps. So maybe this is just like a little bit too extreme because of the high reflected C there. Okay, anyways, so we currently use the W for size, but we only want to use it for the randomization. And obviously this part doesn't work at all. So like moving this around doesn't have any effect, which is a little bit sad. So let's change the shader here. So we go into randomize points and we here use W as selection. This is, and it should go in here, but we don't see the option here. So this is bad. This is bad. Okay, let's connect it. Boolean, and this goes into use randomize for selection. So let's turn this off. And now when we move this around, we see, okay, we can actually control where this is breaking up. And okay, the radius is a little bit too high, but if we scale this down, I think we can have like this, almost like an impact. So maybe what happens if you also change the rotation, for instance? Okay, getting there. And then if we would change this guy, like the height, could actually go into like this, breaking this open. And I wonder if this is a good. So if we change this bias again, you remember the thing we had earlier. I'm not sure, like it appears to me that the bias doesn't really have an effect on the rotation. Oh, does it? No, it doesn't. I think it doesn't. I think it should have an immediate effect. So I think this should be fixed. Let's quickly look at the shader. So maybe we can fix this on the fly. So we go in here, edit the shader. It opens up in Visual Studio. And then we see that we are getting a normalized scatter. So where's the bias being used? Bias. So there's a hash 4. And this is, we take the rotation, and then, so this takes the rotation amount. So then maybe we take this guy and call it clamped bias. We store this into a variable, float clamped bias equals this guy. And we're taking the hash rotation, we're smoothing it from 0 to 1 with the phase. And the hash rotation goes into, here's the amount. And here we take basically like the clamp bias. Didn't do anything. Yeah, here. So if we change the gain, can control like this spread and make it like a little bit more gradual. And I think we now move this out. Yeah, I think I prefer this a lot. So then what we can also do is we can, so we are not using it for the size, but we are using it for the randomization points. And I think we want also to break these guys out a little bit. So let's use a transform, maybe like a soft transform. Which is the transform? Good question. Maybe a soft transform points. And what this does, it takes like a volume center, and then from this volume center, it takes the selected points. and moves them somewhere else. So let's see actually. So this is apply changes in the volume center. Let's get this closer to our source here, and let's increase the volume size. Okay, here's the volume size. We see how this is. So we can now smoothly translate these. Oh wait, I think this is the volume size. Translate this somewhere else. So okay, this. Now that I think about this, already looks kind of funny. I think if we rotate this, this is already super interesting. I really love these structures that are like being created there. So maybe take the depth of field and move this a little bit further away. Maybe increase the amount here, decrease this a little bit. So one thing, this is obviously order dependent, so we don't need to split anymore. So I think if we first use self-transform point to split these guys and rotate them a little bit, and then there will still be like this the select point range here where we can break these guys apart. And I think this makes it even more interesting. So let's if you break this apart, like this, I think this is way too fast. That is one of the things I think I learned, that the faster things move, the smaller they appear. So, okay. I think we should also try to still break this out a little bit. So let's add another soft point. Duplicate this guy here. And then we first have to find the center of the volume. Okay, this is way too big. Volume is the volume size here. Like here. And is this the come here? So I think here and maybe like a bit further down. And this time we don't want to rotate, but we want to move these guys out. And maybe also this has also like the bias here. And I think currently there is like a center radius and then a fall off, and that's why like these are completely broken out there. Which actually also looks kind of interesting, but I think it would be better if the fall off would be a little bigger and the volume size would be so that it's almost nothing. I think it's trying to find what's an interesting way of rotating these guys. I think that I guess this must be the bias being like super high. Yeah. Floop. I don't know what's going on there. Floop, floop, floop. Jumping. But I think this I can really see how this could evolve into something. So I think it's a little bit sad that these guys are a little bit too uniform. I think we should change the initial distribution of these points. So once again, we take transform points, and if we rotate them around y, we should be able to move them a little bit more diagonally. And yeah, we shouldn't use this in object space, but in point space. Yeah. So like, I think this makes it a bit more interesting. Okay. That's actually not really sure if what happened if we, so we don't need the caps of the cylinder, no caps, and I think we can break it open by not filling it completely. Huh. I'm not really sure if I like that. And I mean, like this is actually really kind of cool, like how it's being sucked out there. I think this really this has something nice to it, and also like this kind of like creepy I guess you could say like a debris or so by Fiverr, like this snaily cube like thing. Where's the point light? Maybe if you move the point light. Further down, closer to this guy here. And maybe increase the intensity. Decrease it, I mean. Bring it closer. It's interesting how like the depth of field, you know, is like completely confused about the bloom thing. I wonder if we add a glow, if this would fix it. Ooh, oh, aua. Okay, like this is an ugly glow because the background there is way too bright. We might be able to fix it by changing the background color a little bit. But then we lose the glow, I think. Without like this, cutting this off a lot will be, yeah. I mean, the glittering is kind of nice, but it's, I don't know. I mean, so many decisions, like I love these structures here. So maybe just a matter of tweaking, finding the right structures. So if we, for instance, if we would say, let's reduce this a little bit and only make it like a bunch of structures here. And scale this up back again. would it be possible to find something? Huh. I think like this is also interesting how like you only see what's going on through the light reflection. This also looks kind of really nice. So many decisions. Okay. But let's say this is kind of nice. So maybe quickly turn off the gizmos here. And maybe we want to create more finer structures. So let's say we create, so we have all these points here. This is the final position of the points, and let's draw other meshes at these points. Yeah, so let's try this. So we have the group there, and let's just say we take this guy and we draw more cubes at the same points. And we put this into the, obviously now we lose all the textures and so on. But what I was more thinking about, like, okay, if we make something like a construction cubes or something like this, like so. Would this be interesting or not? Obviously, this make it completely black. I mean, sometimes it looks kind of interesting, but frequently it just like looks like complete noise. So let's try to maybe only do this for a bunch of points. So let's use filter points. What filter points does is it takes the list of all these things coming in and only selects a bunch of them. So for instance, like here we select 1,000, and then we can go through the beginning index and eventually, yeah, so like here, these are the 1,000 points we are selecting. And then we could say, okay, maybe, you know, we are only picking the upper part there. But we also see that is, I used this original transform points here to have this rotation. And in this case, I would say that probably rotating it towards the side makes this less interesting. So let's take this game. What happens if we actually make this like super bright? I'm kind of like surprised that it's. I would have expected them to be poking out, because here I'm using the z-axis, and the z-axis I thought would be towards the normal face of the cylinder. Maybe like we further increase the start index here. So yeah, I think this seems to be look at that. That's kind of interesting. So let's try with different things here. Yeah, so there are only the top things here. Maybe we scatter this a little bit to get a more uneven distribution of these guys. And then, okay, then it's wrapping around. if we would make them okay, firstly, like we don't want them white. And I think like I like that they are somewhere sometimes there. But this uniform distribution is like really awkward. So we once again we randomize these points and then we shift them maybe a little bit towards the z-axis. I think this is much more interesting. Maybe also randomize the size, and can we now use the size for this? No, we can't, because the size also is the selection thing. Okay, but yeah, I think this already adds a lot. Okay, maybe do a bunch of more. Maybe like 5,000 or something. Okay, start index is like so okay. Then maybe we can, if this would later be like the original resolution, so maybe go to this guy again and try a different camera perspective here. So what do we have here? Oh, actually, oh, look at this. It's like I like how the structure is like super clean at the bottom. So I think this focus a little bit too low, and obviously we need more light desperately. Tune this in a little bit. Actually, I kind of like it. So let's see this like point thing here. So if we would increase the volume scale, could imagine this, and let's try this transform point, soft transform to the volume size. So we could actually, like this could work really well together with the soundtrack. So for instance, like so like this. So this really sounds almost like this. So if we add the keyframe here to the volume center and move this guy obviously way slower. Yeah, it's a like this will be a challenge how we sync this to the soundtrack. This will be a real challenge. So stick points. So obviously it needs to be much slower here. Give me that. So let's maybe might be easier to see this in the curve mode. Okay. So if we move this here a little bit less intense. Yes, something like this rhythm is really hard, and it's almost like it should be. There should be something on the rhythm that is synced. I'm not really sure what is this. What is this? This is going to be. So if we have this guy here, and let's say we had a keyframe here. Which will back to dope mute mode. And I think, let's say the volume center, we start without any selected points. Like if we move this out. This is the this is increasing, and then I guess the other soft transform point it pulls these things out. I think this should come in later. So let's take this guy here and maybe animate the volume center, the volume size. And increase this. Interesting. So many things. Oh, I can see that. So let's add some rotation offset, I guess. Oh no, wait a second. This I don't want. I want to add Perdoners. And we earlier had this, we changed this, I think. We increased this and we made it slower. Maybe. I think it's a little bit too fast, but not much. Let's try half the speed. Maybe a little bit less. Okay. How does it look without gizmos? And what happens if we change the... Oh, the focus distance is minus. Negative focus isn't. What the heck? Okay. Okay, looks kind of interesting. So one thing, actually what happened to our second cube here? Is it still there? Okay, it is still there. But I think that like with the long structures like these are definitely too long, because it will almost look like some kind of I think this looks much better. So if it's too long, then it will be, I don't know, it just will not, I mean, it's not that this looks believable, but with the too long structures, it looked completely strange. I think another thing we can do is we can maybe add a bunch of random stuff in there. So let's say if we take more of these points, filter points, and then we once again we draw meshes, cube mesh, draw these meshes, and we group this, and this time we reset everything. We draw very, very big meshes, and we don't need many. And maybe not scattered too much. So let's see. Okay, this is too big, but I think like having some larger structure could really help to sell that it's like some more consistent or like some like some kind of other structure. Maybe we also, I think this should set point v amount, and I think we set all of them to 1. So they are independent of where they are in the selection. They have the same size. And it's actually kind of interesting how they are rotating. It's like almost like the gravity is completely off. Let's take these guys and randomize the points and randomize the size. Size randomized. So we have a bunch of large and a bunch of small ones. So how many do we have? Let's make it 100 cubes or something. It's kind of interesting how they are right now being stuck in there. So maybe let's take this, let's make this the default material. So all the things get the same light and all the things get the same material. think this is actually not too shabby. So a bit what is this? Is the glow happening at all? Oh, I like how this is now starts to fill up the space. Oh, actually, okay, this is kind of interesting. So, and if it's too sharp, then it looks kind of quirky. Definitely kind of quirky. But if it's too shallow of a focus distance, it just looks small. Like always the same problem. Yeah, but I think this is really getting somewhere. I like it. So where's the point light here? Can we turn this on, please? Huh. Interesting. Don't go away, Gizmo. Come on, where are you? Oh no, come on. Okay. It's interesting that the black cubes look so much more interesting than the white ones. And I think it's like the tweaking the contrast, this would be like the main thing we have to do here. Definitely a contrast problem. So I think like to make it a little bit easier to work with stuff, I think we should first start to align the brightness of all the cubes here. And I think the easiest way would be, okay, let's make all of them white and then tweak it over the material here. I think then one thing what we could do, so I'm not really sure what's happening if we do that, but I think maybe we can try to add some transparent blocks in there and see what's happening to light stuff up there. So let's switch to, oh, no, actually dope sheet is just fine. Squeeze this down. And maybe we don't need this for now. Like, this is way too dark. Oh, so many decisions. So many decisions. Yeah, we need much more light there. I think I have to move the point light back. Yeah, we need light there. Something like so. Okay, so this looks kind of interesting. So hello cat. So we could maybe we could just try to let's create a grid of points, and then once again we randomize these points and then we draw billboards. And let's just see what's happening if we stuff this in here somewhere. And I guess if we once again change this from bounds to cell and scale this up and maybe increase the size here of these, I think we should see them somewhere. Oh, actually, oh, that looks interesting. Interesting things are happening. So let's randomize these guys here a little bit. It's actually much more. It's something like, I think the blur really almost like twice to work like some kind of lighting there. Of course, it's all fake, but it's somehow interesting. So what happens if we actually once again? Yes. Okay, this is definitely too fast. Okay, that's definitely too slow. Huh, I like it. Not set. So actually, maybe back to what I actually wanted to do. What I actually wanted to do was, so I'm taking the blob, and blob is so by default it would take like this weird aspect ratio, and so I just wanted to use a billboard, so a low res square texture is good enough. I could take it over there, texture. And then I thought like, okay, if you make this like huge, it will look completely strange. If we use alpha cutoff. But I think if we would just say we don't write def, we only read def, and we do this at last, then we could use this as some kind of like fake lighting thing to give it some depth. I think obviously super expensive, but let's see what's happening. So there's this new thing in Draw Billboards where we can add like random variations here. So we can say, okay, maybe we want to have like some of them should be red, some of them should be white. So let's draw this guy. Maybe we change this interpolation here to hold, and we can. And these are quite a lot. So these are 100. So this will give us like a huge, like, you know, like the fill rate will be crazy because potentially it renders like if this is 100 patches and these are like no used billboards, it would be like fill rate of 50 or something. But we don't need that many to get the effect time after. So it could be like something like this would already be like interesting. And maybe if we increase these and increase these quite a lot and have these big, real big. And very transparent. And very big. And obviously this red thing, I think the red is somehow weird, but let's try some, make it fewer and have some, I think pure white is probably an ugly color. But let's make some black, because if it's black, and maybe also like the black stuff, I think could be more opaque. So let's increase the overall opacity of this. Oh, I really like these kind of colors here. So since these two colors will be multiplied, if you go for full dark, we could actually reduce the like the opacity of the white and the orange things. So we still have like the, or maybe not. No, I'm kind of confused. But yeah, I think this should be, yeah, we see like some, we get some form of shading in there. I think right now this is way too big. But I think it's kind of interesting. So now let's see what happens if we increase this to HDR. And maybe maybe even less, maybe only a few of them. Let's try different random seeds here. I wonder if there is actually a random seed. Spread. Face, this is face here? No. Face doesn't do anything. Oh, it's only for the spread. I think there should be a random face somewhere in this operator. Randomize, random scale, random face. We can move this around a little bit. Let's see like if there are like variations that look up. I think this looks better than it's supposed to look. So like I mean, it will only be visible for like a short amount of time. So I think we could get away with something like this. And yes, the colors are ugly. And like what's really bothering me now is like this cut off of this big. Like if we have small structures, it would be okay. But like the intersecting billboards here, this looks a little bit unpleasing. But I think we can later figure that out. I think we can cheat our way around that. And some stuff looks quite pleasing. So I'm also like very easy to please, obviously. So let's try something else. So if we add SSHO in here, give it a depth buffer, and maybe if we increase the size here. So how does this do? If we bypass this. Does this help? Maybe it's already the size, maybe we don't need that much size. Yeah, I think this also helps a little bit. Okay. And so earlier we had like these like small little dots there. And I think I really like that one. So so we slowly getting somewhere, and then I think the once we have the scene, so we shouldn't forget. So we didn't even like look for the nice camera. So I think like once we start flying around here, we might see more interesting things that that we can sync to. Yeah, I think this really has potential. So going back to this guy here, so we actually. This is way too fast. What is if we slow this down drastically and find? I think there needs to be some kind of like faster sub movement, like maybe like the things vibrating or something. I'm not really sure what to do with that, but well, one thing at a time. So we are creating stuff. So let's move this guy in here, and so obviously this is way too big. Yeah, but as I said earlier, I like this thing where we had like this glowing structure up there. So let's remove these, bring them back. We can change this, maybe distribute them with the height a little bit. And I would have expected them to be much brighter. Where are you? Okay, here some are coming. And I guess the randomized W also like okay, this is too big, obviously. And it's maybe I'm kind of uncertain if I like that they are complete circles. Or it would be better if this is point rotation. What is it if you randomize this? Like this must be bad, or would it be worse? Okay, I think probably it looks really bad. No matter what, I think it looks really bad. here it really interesting. I guess with this, I think they're just too bright. White is okay, but if it's too bright, then and this now kind of looks interesting. So I think if we find a setup where it looks like almost like it's glowing inside and like stuff is like flying into the air and like it's being carried away or something like this. This could maybe look interesting. So what's the amount of like, oh, this is actually quite a lot of movement here. Okay. I think I have to think about this a little bit. I think it has a lot of potential, and it's a good start for a scene. And now we have to find like the correct setup, like camera wise, and like how to integrate it into the flow. This will be a real challenge. I guess it's mostly about finding the right contrast and the right I think like this. Could be interesting, and maybe it could also be something like so there are tons of things we could actually sync. This would like syncing this, but it would look like being underwater. Huh. It probably doesn't help. Make things very small. But I like the orange green thing. It's maybe a little bit too green. It should be more like bluish, but I think we could find something there. And we didn't even go with like particles. Actually, I wanted to do particles. So I guess, well, then it was cube for now. So let's see what we do with the scene. And I will go sleep now and see what we're going to do tomorrow. See you then.